What's up, everyone? Welcome to Live Deep Dive. We have a very special show that we're probably going to be doing a couple of episodes of because we got some amazing questions, and that's what we're going to be answering. And we're going to answer some questions. If you have some great ones in your chat, we'd love to hear from you. We got those questions from a very special place. Ian planted the seeds, and we're harvesting them now. And that place is inside Texas. You can join now for $1 American. Then it's 50% off for your first year. That's incredible. New members only. Join Inside Texas today and be a part of the best Longhorn conversation on the great interwebs. Ian, we got some great, interesting, and esoteric questions.
Yep.
We're looking forward to answering those. You ready to dive in?
I'm ready. I hope that my favorite one is in there, but it'll be later, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think I share your hope. All right, let's go. Let's start off here. Given the defense he's likely to run, is Muschamp concerned at all about a perceived shortage in numbers of linebackers and safeties? That was asked by Mr. Coolhorn. What do we think?
It doesn't seem like it. At least, I mean, he can't feel amazing about linebacker depth, right?
Yeah.
They've got 3 guys, I think, that you feel like can play for sure.
Let's name them off. Tyshawn. Sorry, go ahead. Rasheem.
Who did you say? Who was that kid?
Ty Anthony.
Ty Anthony Smith, Rasheem Biles, and Justin Cryer. I think those 3 guys, they can all play. You can expect them all to play and not make a ton of mistakes that'll kill you, right?
Okay.
Then they got 3 more guys that I think will be that eventually for sure, but may not be that this year, with Kosiak Paula and Rocky Cummings and Tyler Atkinson. So, man, just one more linebacker would probably make all the difference.
What about Brad Spence? We don't count him as an off-ball guy?
If he plays there, it doesn't sound like he's playing there. If he does, then that.
I mean, doesn't he have to?
Doesn't seem like it. It seems like he's over.
There's no snaps for him available at edge.
Well, there could be. If they play
beat out.
If they play that Eric had that report the other day that they have a base front that they're working that goes Jackson, Canoe, Simmons, 404. And I was like, wait, that frees up an entire position on the field. Who plays the extra position? And it could be Brad Spence as an edge.
We
need to learn more about that. That could very easily be its own show. We're kind of fumbling in the dark on that whole thing.
Yeah, I'm not going to put too much credence in that, especially when it's go time. Also, little boutique fronts and boutique defenses that we run that will roll out for 3 downs against someone. That's not going to be the core of our personnel, right? I mean, when I look at personnel, I'm looking at a 12-game regular season. There's going to be, let's say, 750, 800 defensive snaps. Who's getting at least 350 snaps? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I'm not concerned about, in this little front, this guy get this, and by the end of the year, he's got 41 snaps. That's irrelevant to me, right? But I think we're good at linebacker. What about safety? I mean, is the question, not to play dumb here, but we have 2 safeties on the field. Is it that Will Muschamp wants to play a big nickel with 3 safeties or something? What am I missing?
He could, though. I think they moved Black there.
But why would he?
Why would he play?
With all of the embarrassment of riches we have at corner, why would you put out more safeties on the field?
Just if you wanted to play McDonald or Williams in a different position in a sub package, then you want somebody reliable to replace them back at safety. But I think they can get there. I think Black might get there. I think he's going to translate very well there. Johnson Rebel should be able to do that by now. in a sub package. Jonah Williams could maybe get there. We don't know. But he might.
He might as well be Bigfoot. I think honestly, if you could name 4 safeties you feel good about, I think you're fine in today's college football. And I think that's where we are, right? I mean, Jelani, Kobe, JJR, and then we think Phil Same. But I guess he's going to be playing down more at nickel, right?
Derek Williams is 4, though.
Derek Williams, yeah.
Yeah. And Phil Same could go there in a pinch for sure.
Yeah. So I think we're okay. I mean, I think the encouraging thing is when we talk about depth issues, we're concerned about like guy number 4. Most teams in college football, when they're concerned about depth issues, they don't like anyone past their first starter at certain positions, right? So that we're kind of having a different conversation than other teams. We're looking at depth from like, an epic perspective of like, do we just have a first and second team that are interchangeable? And although that's a desired end, that's difficult to achieve at every position. We're almost there on the D line and cornerback.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, this team, this team is going to be good because a lot of the concerns are things like, but what if?
Who's our third nickel? I agree 100%. If
it matters, it can matter, but
it can matter. But if your concerns are like, who's our 4th rush end? You're having a very different discussion than like Toledo in the MAC of like, hey, we didn't have a single corner in spring practice who was healthy, that kind of thing.
Texas last year.
Yeah.
If we're honest. We didn't realize it necessarily in the offseason, but that was definitely the case. Do we have a running back? Do we have 5 linemen? Do we have a tight end?
Yeah, 100%. All right. Well, that's a great question. I'm glad we talked about it. I think some of our issues are luxury problems.
Yep.
They're not third world problems. We're not worried about clean drinking water. We're worried more about like our golf reservation didn't go through on Tuesday the way we wanted. So,
yep.
All right, next question. Paul and Homer recently discussed on a podcast how Lane is a better OC at the college level than Sark because he incorporates college adapted schemes with NFL concepts. Given our personnel, what spread or college driven concepts would work best for our offense this year if adopted? Great question from Texas Omicron fan. First of all, Ian, do you agree with that assessment?
Yeah.
And what do you think? I'll let you take the first bite at the apple.
I think quarterback run game. Sark dabbled in it last year. They didn't do it that well at times. It got better over the course of the year. I know they don't want to be all in on that for a lot of reasons, but boy, they could potentially take the offense up another level or two if they were willing to run Arch in some design schemes, quarterback run schemes that were very well practiced. He knew the reads and how to make the reads quickly. And they wouldn't even have to do it as much as like Ellinger for that to be immensely impactful on this team. And
yeah,
Kiffin always does.
We're not talking about scrambles.
Yeah, you're right.
We're talking about set quarterback run game or quarterback as option.
Yeah.
In the run game, meaning it's not a called quarterback run per se, but it could be a part of the RPO, right?
Yeah.
I want to mention RPOs. I feel like Lane Kiffin is more stubbornly fixed on making the RPO game be a part of their offense and just giving the quarterback sort of instant reads with an advantageous run game attached to it. And it looks different than, say, what like Indiana did with Kurt Signetti. They have a different type of run game, almost like some of the veer and shoot stuff, right?
Yeah.
And you tag it with RPOs, and Sark has absolutely used RPOs. He especially used RPOs with the young Quinn Ewers because it was very much, hey, let's give him very easy reads, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But RPOs absolutely murder zone coverage. And I feel like we're going to see a lot of zone coverage. So I think that's an easy college adapted scheme, like the true RPO, not play action per se. I think that's what we use.
You've touched on two things that I think are similar, and that Kiffin does a lot of stuff where it's like we're going to formation space and give the quarterback like 4 options, and then just be extremely good at that.
Yep.
You're going to be a master at a few concepts that have multiple options, and there's always a counter to the defensive counter. And Sark, I think he doesn't love investing time in that.
No.
He's like, I will design one read plays where we don't need a million counters. We're just going to drop them, pull them out of the bag and drop them on opponents. And if over half of them hit, then we're going to score a ton of points. And that's more his game. It works, but I think the Kiffin method is actually a little bit, it's easier for a lot of reasons. Maybe the other big one, not to spend an hour on this, which probably could, Kiffin's run game is like inside zone till the cows come home, and then like and then counter is like the other variant.
The counter,
yeah. And you watch his teams, and they will be playing Georgia, and it's like Tom Herman. It's like, we are going to run inside zone for at least 1 to 3 yards every time. Like if we run inside zone, it's all we do. And we're going to expect that we can at least fall forward and move the chains a little bit if we call this, even if we're playing Georgia. And the thing with inside zone that all the spread teams love is you just go get big framed dudes. You play the best 5. It's way less position specific. And you just play like anyone that can play tackle goes there and everyone else slides inside. Everyone says that they do that, but other schemes have much different asks of the different position groups. Whereas inside zone, the rules and the asks at every position in the run game are very similar. And so it just makes it very simple. It makes it very simple to develop, to evaluate, and it also makes it really simple for him to plug and play in the transfer portal, which is obviously a huge key to everything Kiffin does.
Yeah, I also think well executed inside zone can be a particularly good pass rush slowdown, because one missed tackle or you try to stunt a gap and like, I'm going to get the quarterback, that inside zone handoff is literally going right by you and you can get creased. And suddenly what should have been that 3-yard gain or the 5-yard gain goes for 35 right down the middle of the pipe of the offense. I mean, the defense, I should say. So yeah. I think that's also partly why he runs it as well, right? It kind of keeps your teams a little honest.
Yeah. Outside zone does probably do that even better, but it's also harder. It's harder.
100%. The problem with outside zone is even the proponents of it, and they'll tell you when they run it well, you're going to get some 2nd and 14s. You're going to, inside zone doesn't have that inherent like 3-4 yard loss potential, right?
Yep.
Outside zone does. Sometimes they just like, it doesn't go. The defensive guy defeats your offensive guy at the point of attack. And you're trying to walk that, you're trying to do that sort of lateral step. And then I want to look and cut. Sometimes the cut doesn't occur and it's 2nd and 14. And now you're kind of up the creek. And Shanahan and McVay and those guys are very open talking about that. Like, you have to understand, we're going to pop a few, but we're also going to get some 2nd and 14s, and you got to have a plan for that as well.
Yep.
Someone asks, Blake Bryant asks, did Sark run a lot of inside zone in 2020 with Najee Harris?
They did everything. It was the same as.
I was going to say Alabama's playbook. They could kind of run anything because their personnel were so good, and Sark just had carte blanche to do whatever he wanted anytime he wanted. So yeah, the answer to that is yes. They ran everything.
Everything.
Yeah. All right. Next question. Going into year 7. What does Sark's ideal running back unit look like to maximize this offense? With the caveat that Bijan is a unicorn and in full view of our past, current, and future running back rooms, what frames and skill sets comprise your ideal Sark running back room 1 through 3? It's from X Van Hookem. He actually had several other paragraphs about this. We had to condense it, but I thought it was compelling. And one of the things that he was trying to square was we don't seem to have an archetype. Sark has big guys, little guys, everything in between. And I would say, let me offer this, and I'm curious about your thoughts, and you can tell me your ideal room as well. I think you have to evaluate running back as best available. So we have Malik Brown and Hollywood Smothers because they were the best available that we could get. Once we couldn't get Jaden Baugh into the portal and Isaac Brown stayed at Louisville. Those are the two best backs in the portal, in our opinion. So it wasn't, we're going for this new archetype of we want smaller guys, or like they're just the two best available. Jaden, the other part is, he was trying to puzzle through, well, why are we going after Jaden Baugh if we also are trying to go after, we're doing the thunder and lightning thing with Baugh and Isaac Brown, and now we've got different types, and now we're bringing in Derek Cooper. It all seems contradictory. So I would say, one, we're just taking best available. So that's Sark's thing. The second part is, I think you're looking at body types like height, weight, stuff like that. You need to look at skill sets. And the commonality that all of the running backs that Sark has had is they all can catch the ball. So whether it's CJ Baxter or whether it's Malik Brown, almost all these guys can catch the ball at a plus level. Trey Wisner, very good out of the backfield, right? That's the commonality. And then beyond that, Sark is just looking for best available, in my opinion.
I think he's trying to rebuild Lindale White and Reggie Bush. I think that's his ideal.
Yeah.
He aims for the big power back that can handle a lot of carries and do your tough running and run it 30 times if you need him to in a game. And then he wants the explosive dimension as well. And when you have both, it just is ideal because you can rotate them and keep them fresh. He's not been able to recreate that, which is, he probably should have done a little better, but it's not unreasonable to struggle to recreate something that platonic.
Yeah, and if you view Derek Cooper as your Lindale White, which he's really not, actually. He's a little more, he's not quite as big, and he's more explosive, right?
He's more Bijan-y.
But he's not.
I mean, no one is, but
yeah, he's the unicorn, as X-Man said. It's not been achievable. So to me, Roschon Johnson is a power back.
Yes.
He's got some elusivity, and I know he obviously was a high school quarterback. He was a power runner.
Yeah.
And I think Sark really liked that dimension of him as a compliment to Bijan. And I think we're always trying to achieve that. The question is, you can't always get what you want, according to Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones. So, but you get what you need, right? And so we wanted Isaac Brown and Jaden Baugh as our ideal platonic pairing, and we got Malik Brown and Hollywood Smothers. And we'll be pretty good with that. We improved the room, I promise you.
I think he has adjusted a little bit that he likes now in light of Bijan and Jonathan Brooks. It seems like he likes the guys that can run outside zone from the shotgun and have the agility to get outside, but then still have some meat to them and some power, which that was Bijan, obviously Bijan, another level. But Christian Clark was like that. Gibson was supposed to be like that. Baxter was supposed to be like that. Cooper is supposed to be like that. Jet Walker is supposed to be like that. We'll see if any of them actually hit.
Yeah. Do you agree with the commonality, though, is that they can all catch the ball?
Oh, yes. That's the other thing, right? He wants pro style running backs that can do everything. He sets a high bar at every position on offense.
100%. One thing that I would quibble with him about is I don't like that we're continuing this taking two high school running backs thing. It just doesn't make sense. That's actually an issue I would love to discuss with him philosophically, because there is a process to vet high school running backs who have a pretty high bust rate. And that process is called college football. And they go play college football, and then you evaluate them, and you go get the ones that panned out. And then you don't have to eat the busts. You know what I'm saying?
I also got to worry about, I love Landon Williams Callis that they're chasing right now. But I see them like gets 320 carries as a junior. And I just think back to like Jonathan Gray or Jace McClellan or other dudes that kind of ran off a lot of tread before they made it to college.
You could argue Cedric Benson.
Well, I guess so.
Yeah, I mean,
he's awfully good in college too.
He was a heavily used high school running back.
Yes.
Let me tell you. I mean, that guy, it was not unusual to see him get 36 carries in a game. So, hey, I want to talk about someone that should be heavily used. That's Gabe Winslow.
Gabe.
He is elite. This is the platonic ideal. We were talking about building the platonic ideal running back room. We have our Thunder. We have our Lightning. This guy brings the storm to the mortgage world every time. Dial these digits, 832-557-1095, and they will connect you, or text him. If you're not on the phone guy, you're more of a text guy. Dial those digits and it will connect you with the best mortgage guy on planet Earth, Ian. He is phenomenal at what he does. Over 20 years. Ian was stunned by that claim. But you know what, Ian? It's correct.
I know it is.
This guy is phenomenal at what he does. Endless paragraphs of Google reviews. Every time his name comes up on Inside Texas, people are like, this guy's the GOAT. He freaking saved my life. He saved my deal. I have a non-traditional income stream. He was still able to get me a great mortgage. This guy's just phenomenal. He's incredibly hardworking. He's relentless. And he is the guy that you don't have to track down. Hey, what's going on with my deal? Hey, what's this? What's the stage? He's Mr. You've got an update sitting in your inbox or on your text every morning through the process. This is the guy that offers you peace of mind through what is always an excruciating and nerve-wracking process, buying a house. So call Gabe, 832-557-1095. All right, let's go. Interesting question here. Does it make sense to move Terry to H-back? Body type seems to fit. That's from Chavez522. Sure. Do we have an H-back?
Yeah. We have some pretty good ones.
Okay. Go on.
Nick Townsend plays that position, as does Amari Winston. Nick Townsend blocks. That's kind of a big deal.
Yes.
The same thing that makes Michael Terry a little questionable at running back. No, let me rephrase. One of the things that makes Terry a little questionable about running back means that a translation to tight end is rough, which is how physical is he really?
Mm-hmm.
I got into trouble on the message board in high school. I watched him in a playoff game and I was like, this guy is not really that physical. He's like fast and elusive, but I don't think he's like really an inside runner. I think he needs to play receiver. And I still think that might be best.
Yeah, it's interesting that his body type and his skill set may not be perfectly suited to sort of what we do as it stands today.
You're right. That's maybe the big thing.
But those things could evolve.
Yep.
He could show up to camp next year at 245 and kill it in the weight room. And he's like he discovers his physicality. And that happens in football. They have the whole well, if he bites as a pup, then he'll bite as a grown dog. I've seen plenty of football players who don't bite as a pup, but they discover the weight room and suddenly they're like, oh, it's fun to hit people. It's fun to be physical. So it does happen. I think Terry's an interesting athlete. He almost could be used in a role like in a true spread air raid offense.
Yep.
As kind of like your move guy,
Yep.
But we don't really have that position. Like our H-back doesn't do that. He does more tight end things, right?
Yep.
So I don't know. I mean,
I bet
We
Levy
put
could
him
make
there.
something up.
I guess our point is we could put him there. Yes, I think he'd be third on the depth chart.
Yeah. Yeah. I bet Levy would make a lot of him at their tight end spot.
The Traore.
Yeah,
spot.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Levy knows how to
the old
protect
OU
him.
team that won the national title, the overachiever team with Stoops.
Uh-huh.
Was that Josh Norman? What was his name?
Yeah, I think he was on that team.
Who was the big guy that was kind of their, like, I'm not a tight end, I'm not a receiver, I'm 230 and athletic, and I just catch the ball. Do you remember that guy?
Yeah, I feel like they had a couple of those guys. They had like an actual fullback in the air raid that's now like a coach, Seth Luttrell.
Yep.
Let's see here. They had two guys like that. They had Josh Norman played running back / receiver.
That's what I'm
and then
thinking.
they had Trent Smith too, who was kind of a
Trent Smith was more of a traditional tight end, though, I think.
Yeah, a little bit.
But yeah,
he spent a lot of time out wide.
Josh Norman's Michael Terry. But we don't have that role. Right. So Lane Kiffin could use him at LSU, though.
Sounds like we're encouraging this kid to transfer.
Yeah, we're not. Sorry.
I want the best for Michael Terry in Austin. I'm not totally sure what that looks like.
I agree. All right, we'll move on. Next question. Is Ohio State a must-win? Why or why not? I think it is. It looks like a toss-up, and the season looks a lot different at 2-0 versus 1-1. That's from Taylor T. Room, who always has great questions. Okay. So there's two levels to this answer for me. I'll take a crack at it first.
Go.
No individual game in the regular season is a must-win. In that, there's a 10-2 Texas gets in the playoff with that schedule, okay? However, the pressure is going to be intense if you drop the early game because all of your one throwaway game is now gone. Like you can't have that anymore. You can lose one more game the rest of the year. And if you look at the rest of the schedule, it's pretty daunting.
Yep.
And you factor in injuries, et cetera, et cetera. So can Texas fully realize all of its season ambitions losing to Ohio State? Yes, 100%. There is a world where that happens, right? There's also a world where the pressure after that loss becomes so intense, and particularly because you're going to be under intense scrutiny of how did this happen? Did the defense drop the ball? Did the offense have a no-show again? Why can't we get over? Like, even that examination is going to be pretty harsh, right? So yeah. I don't know. How do you feel about this? I'm of two minds.
Well, when you put it that way, I think your first point is that this schedule, you don't want to lose your margin in week 2.
No.
So I would put this as the number 2 most important game to win. You can guess what number 1 is.
We know.
If you lose to Ohio State, but you rebound and then you whip Oklahoma in the Red River Shootout, everything is back on track. Your mind can get right again. You still have a lot of lost margin, which is a big deal. But that game sets the tone mentally a little more than the early season game. I think this early season game is especially intense, though, just because it's followed up by 9 SEC games. In the past, if you had like the 2005 Texas schedule, but the 2026 playoff format, that game does not matter that much.
You win the rest of your games and you cruise in at 11-1.
Yeah.
12-1 because you win the Big 12.
Yep. It matters a lot more now, but
here's the other factor. Ohio State actually has one of its more challenging schedules, arguably in the school history this year.
Yep.
So right now, the Big Ten, the way it's structured, you get hard Big Ten schedule or you get easy Big Ten schedule. Indiana this year drew easy Big Ten schedule. Ohio State drew hard Big Ten schedule.
Yeah.
Northwestern, God bless them, drew hard Big Ten schedule. And it's going to be a rough year. for the Cats. But how Ohio State does actually determines the answer to this question too. Because if you lost early in the year to 9-3 Ohio State, that feels a lot different than we dropped one early in the year, 27-24 in overtime, to Big Ten champion 12-1 or undefeated Ohio State. Those things sit very differently when the end of year resume is being evaluated. That said, even if Ohio State beats us narrowly and goes undefeated, and then we lose 2 other games, we're in trouble for the playoff. That's just a fact. And I know people are going to be like, but our strength of schedule. Apparently, the committee doesn't care about that. So the magic number is don't lose more than 2 games. Only bad teams lose more than 2 games, Ian. So that's kind of how it is. Now, someone in the chat says Ohio State is a must-win. Sark is our head coach and offensive coordinator. He has not beaten Day, Smart, DeBoer. True?
Yeah, but that can happen in the playoffs. It doesn't have to happen in the regular season. I'll tell you one more in the must-win count, though, is that you don't get all summer to prepare for the rest of the schedule the same way that you do against Ohio State.
That's the other part that's very important.
And you can't spring new stuff on everybody else as easily as you can on Ohio State.
One of the things that also makes our schedule particularly challenging, Ian, is Ohio State is going to be able to do that to us, right? And also, like our SEC opener, all of Tennessee's prep this offseason is Texas. Not because, they care about Texas more than anyone else. We're their first really hard game. And it's the SEC opener at home. And Heupel knows I can get a lot of cred with this victory. We're not going to shoot our wad against Georgia Tech in game 2. So that's kind of the deal, kind of how it falls also for us for a few other teams. So someone says in the chat, we lose to Ohio State, we going 9-3. No, I disagree. I don't think that's determinative of our season in that way. I think it's kind of the similar mentality of I've read people in the Inside Texas saying, if we go 9-3, Sark should be fired because this team's loaded. Like, I don't buy that. I think this is a game where the margins are pretty slim. So, and a schedule where the margins are pretty slim. Now, if we had 2005 schedule and Sark went 9-3, I've got real issues. Like, because you dropped a couple of games to some bad football teams. So, I don't think he would be fired. I tell you what, though, he may have it a little more trouble passing the hat around. He goes 9-3. Yeah, I mean, look. The schedule's the schedule. He needs to make the playoff and make a run, and whatever that looks like, it needs to happen. But it's interesting because we're talking about the NFLization of college football, and we have to adopt more of a pro mentality. A lot of no NFL fan base would circle a game in week 1 or week 2 and say this is a must win. They might say, we really need to beat the Eagles, or, I hate New England. This is a big game. But no one in the NFL circles a game and goes, that's a must win in week 9 before the season. It's not really a thing, right? Right. We're not fully there, but we're getting there.
Kicking and screaming all along.
Yep. Agreed. For the 2026 season, would you make any of the following personnel trades, in quotes, of current players for former Longhorn stars? VY for Arch, Colt for Arch, Roy Williams for Cam. Everything else stays the same, coaches, schemes, roster, etc. That's from Zona Horn. That's a great question. I love this. Go.
I don't want VY for Arch. I think Arch is a better fit for this. I do not think Sark would maximize VY as well as he could maximize Arch.
Well, that's the key to this question, as he said, everything else stays the same.
Yeah.
So VY would be running Sark's offense.
Yeah.
As constituted, which does have some quarterback run game, blah, blah, blah. I agree with you. I think Colt would be what we know of. So here's the advantage we have with Colt McCoy. We know how his career in total finished.
Yep.
We don't know that for Arch. So I would make that trade. I think Colt would run Sark's offense quite well.
I still might take Arch, though. I just don't know if either of them. Arch could be the next guy that goes on the Texas quarterback Rushmore. And I almost, part of me would, even if he falls short, I would rather see it attempted than relive the past.
Does Colt McCoy hit gimme throws?
Yeah.
All of them.
All of them.
100% of them.
Yeah.
What does that do for our offense with our new personnel? Don't think about last year's team, which we would have helped. Look at this year's personnel with Colt nailing every short and intermediate throw. And by the way, Colt could throw a decent deep ball, like as long as it's not like a 20-yard comeback on a line across the hash, right? He can throw like a little vertical up the sideline pretty accurately, in fact. I don't know. He's not as dynamic or powerful a runner as Arch, but Colt was pretty damn nifty, right?
Yeah. I'm going to take Arch, though.
Okay.
I agree Colt is better than what we've seen from Arch.
Would you take James Street?
Although, no. I'll tell you what, the Colt that we're thinking of, 08, 09 Colt,
yeah,
is the Arch we haven't seen yet, because those were his 4th and 5th years.
But that was my point.
Yeah.
The point of this exercise is we have the totality of Colt McCoy. We know. We don't know what Arch is going to be and what we think is his final year.
What about Roy for Cam?
Yeah, I would take Roy Williams over Cam. Because we know. I've seen Roy Williams single-handedly take over multiple games against high-level defenses. Cam Coleman, we think, has that potential.
Yeah.
But he's been hamstrung by a bad supporting cast, bad offense, blah, blah, blah. But I think people sometimes forget how amazing Roy Williams was at Texas. I mean, single-handedly destroyed Nick Saban and LSU in a bowl game.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely dominant performance. What about running backs? Are there any
yes.
Everyone wants Ricky Williams.
I'd take any of the. I'd take Earl Campbell,
Jamal Charles.
Might take Jonathan Brooks. I would definitely take Bijan. Might take Roshan.
Oh, I would take Jonathan Brooks. Yeah.
Yeah. I would take Benson.
Yeah.
Would you take Foreman? Deontay Foreman?
You know what? That's a great question. I think so. To a degree, he's a function of that system that we ran.
Yeah.
But man, he was really good that one year.
Yep.
Like, he was excellent. And for such a big guy, he did have pretty sweet feet. Sark would love to use that guy.
Yes.
What about, it's not hard to say we would take Dan Neal at guard, right?
Oh, man. On the line.
Justin Blaylock. That would be useful, right?
Papa Brockmeyer.
That's pretty easy. Blake Brockermeyer, all those guys.
Lyle Sinline would make an enormous difference on this team.
Just at center. Yeah.
Yes.
Big, physical, smart center. That would be very helpful. All right. Let's flip it on defense. Derek Johnson would always be welcome on any defense.
Yeah, Derek Johnson.
Let's not do the all-stars. What's a step below that we would use as a replacement? It's easy to say we'd take Casey Hampton. Duh. What about...
That's harder because the defense is kind of stacked. And the only position it's not stacked...
We want Michael Taft back.
Yeah. I don't know if he would start. He probably would. Same thing. I feel good about McDonald and Williams as fourth-year guys.
I would feel better about Makuba and Taft and Williams right now. but 2 games into the season, I might have a very different opinion, depending on Williams.
Yeah. The best answer to this would be if we could think of a really Roderick McIlroy. I would like to add Roderick McIlroy to this team to play Mike.
Just a mean run-stopping, tackle-to-tackle soul destroyer.
Yeah.
Limited in coverage. Not terrible, but limited, I would say.
Not like Cryer, though.
No. McIlroy is a good call. What was he, like a 5th-round draft pick?
Probably. I don't remember.
Yeah, I love Roderick McIlroy. That's a great example of like not a superstar, but a guy that would help us, right? D-line, unless it's a superstar, I can't think of many guys that would help us. Like, what about?
Yeah, we're very well stocked.
Yeah, I mean that would be really interesting.
You could, anybody that you would come up with that's an upgrade is like a superstar.
That's right. Offense, yeah. So I would 100% take Roy Williams over Cam Coleman, just for the reasons I stated. Interestingly, they're pretty similar, physically. But man, people don't forget what Roy Williams was at Texas. He was an absolute freak and a phenom who could take over games. He would be a phenomenal fit. I mean, Sark would love Roy Williams because Roy Williams was really good on the run as well, right? He was also like a deep guy. You could run on verticals. Quandre Diggs, you could always use Quandre Diggs because he's a plug and play guy in your secondary. He can play. So wherever you're deficient, you could put Quandre Diggs and he fixes it. Strong safety, free safety, nickel, corner. There's no position in your secondary Quandre Diggs can't play and excel.
Yep.
So he's like the fixer. Deshaun Elliott, that's an interesting one. Yeah, I think Deshaun Elliott, I'd take him over Derek Williams. Wouldn't you?
I'm not sure.
Okay. What about Kenny Vaccaro?
Yeah.
Vaccaro, awesome.
Vaccaro is unreal.
I mean,
we could do this for an hour. Texas has a lot of defensive backs that have been really good. Or no one has even said Earl Thomas. That'd be the first one I'd take.
I mean, yes, duh.
Yeah.
We're trying to get the level below all-timer, right?
The level below all-timer for Texas at defensive back is all-timer at almost every other school.
Yeah, that's true. Like our like he was very good, but not an all-timer. Our very goods are like all-timers at a lot of other schools. Yeah, people naming things like Arakpo, you're like that's not we're trying to go like a level below that to see like who would be the fit. Quandre Diggs is perfect. Quandre Diggs would fix whatever we need plugged in our secondary. Whatever position we were deficient or a guy didn't fully perform, Quandre is the guy that could go do it and play at a really high level. And he's a good leader.
Yep.
All right, next question. I'd love to hear y'all's take on all preseason all Big 12 players that you think Texas would take for the season. I only had 2 on offense, center, running back. I haven't seen the defense yet. That is from Aaron Lee Brand. Okay, Aaron L.Y. Brand. Okay. Let's go.
Hey,
Producer, produce. All right. We got crafty Noah Fafita at quarterback, who I love, but no, I would not take him over Arch.
No.
We got Cam Cook. Texas could have had Cam Cook. L.J. Martin. I think that's the guy maybe this guy would take. And I would also take L.J. Martin. You would take
I see a name.
Huh?
I see a name that stands out.
Omarion Miller, Wyatt Young, who?
No, none of the skill players. I don't care about any of them.
Yep.
We're good there. I'm looking at the offensive line, and I see a name that I've seen before. Evan Tengestal.
Oh, yeah. So we tried to get him.
Right.
For those who don't know, he's the starting center at Cincinnati. We tried to get him. We were not able to. We brought him in here to start. So obviously he would start for us.
Yep.
I'm sad to say, dude, I'm out of the Big 12 now. And I don't know like 3 or 4 of these people. Terrence Carter for Texas Tech I think he would be a starter for us.
Yeah, actually, you're right. He's really good.
Omarion Miller is super talented, but trying to replace our receivers is hard. And I love Wyatt Young actually, but no.
Let's go look at the
BYU's got a good O-line. Like BYU would have an upper tier SEC offensive line, just FYI. But I don't know enough about some of those O linemen because I'm not steeped in the Big 12 anymore. Defensive line, I would want none of these guys.
I would consider AJ Holmes.
I would consider him. I guess who would he replace?
He'd be 4-eye in rotation.
Okay, but he's not. I guess the point of the question is
a starter. He's not going to replace Lance Jackson. So I guess.
Yeah, he's not going to replace Hero. So
yeah.
Austin Romaine.
Yes.
Ben Roberts and Cade Uliave.
Who we literally almost got.
Yes, we almost got. All 3 of those, yes. Absolutely.
All 3 of them.
Yep. Evan Johnson for BYU, as good as our corner room is, yes. Bryce Pollock, yes. Jamel Johnson, safety, really depends on Derek Williams. Will James, I don't know enough about Houston's roster. Dang, I'm out of it, man. This makes me realize I used to know every guy in the Big 12. So I don't know this DB from BYU, Sadu Allah.
He's if we were going to base dime half our schedule, you want that guy.
What's he play?
It's like a big safety.
Oh, okay. Is he
exactly what you think he is? He's a huge Polynesian safety.
Polynesian safety.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I would find more than just the center and the running back LG Martin. Several of these linebackers, absolutely. Definitely that. Probably one other O lineman that I'm not like. I bet Bruce Mitchell from BYU would start for us. The D line, I think you make a good point on AJ Holmes, but I'm not sure he'd start.
Yeah.
And then a few guys in the secondary. The Big 12 does have some guys in the secondary, which is not surprising because DB talent is going to be probably one of the more distributed talent bases just because there's a lot of them. And Big 12 has teams from Texas. You can't throw a rock without hitting a pretty good DB in Texas. Yeah, I agree. Ben Roberts is really good. Blake Bryant says in the chat. Yeah, we mentioned Bryce Pollock. Evan Johnson. I could tell you Evan Johnson from BYU would start for us at corner.
Yeah. Wendell Gregory, I've never heard of.
He was at Oklahoma State. He's a long, pretty disruptive edge. He was the only bright spot on their horrific team. He transferred out, and he's now at K-State. So Wendell Gregory is a good long edge. Unfortunately, if you're a good edge, you can't play for us. You have to beat out Colin Simmons or Lance Jackson or Zeno Umeozulu, and I don't think you're going to.
Wesley. Yeah. Nope.
So, yeah, there's more than just 2 in the Big 12 first team. It does remind you that the vast majority of the Big 12 has taken a big step back in talent. Texas Tech have taken a step forward, obviously. BYU is good. Houston has taken a step forward because Willie Fritz is a really good coach. He's sort of a discount Signetti.
Yeah.
But the rest of the Big 12, everyone's worse. Significantly worse. Than just 2 years ago. Oklahoma State's arrow up because they are going through a change and a transition.
It's basically what the AAC was in the 2010s.
Yeah. That's a great parallel. It's really, it's funny too, because obviously I crap on the Big 12 all the time. And for years, I've been the guy explaining why we have to get out. of the Big 12 and how it's holding us back and all that. That said, I really did think it would be a pretty fun product and I would watch it. And I don't really watch the Big 12, and no one else does if you look at the TV ratings.
It's still a fun product when I do watch it because they still tend to hire smart coaches.
Yep.
But I don't bother most of the time.
I think a thing that really hurt them, obviously Tech is now the show pony of the conference. But what really hurt them is Dykes not being able to leverage that incredible run and playing for the national title. He didn't leverage it into anything. And boy, I'm glad we didn't make some mistakes in that area, which we came very close to making a mistake in that. So someone in the chat says, wait, I thought Yormark said they'd be better without Texas and OU. I mean, that's just hilarious. Did you see how little they got from Monster from naming rights? I did see that. That's incredible. I will lay 50-50 even odds that Yormark is striking side deals. He doesn't even care. Like, Yormark might be Monster's VP of marketing in 2030 when he gets out of there.
I thought 20 million made sense
per school and what they're getting.
I thought it was total. I don't think it was per school.
No. I mean, dividing that by all the schools.
Well, they have so many schools.
Like, that is their branding for everything. Like,
yeah, it should be 20 to school.
Yeah. I mean,
he split 16 ways is not working out so well anymore.
That's their total branding. Like, it's exclusive. So it's not like, hey, we're going to have a Monster patch and we're going to have a Aflac patch and we're going to have a blah, blah patch. It's like Monster. Big 12 football sponsored by Monster. Like, that's how it's going to be presented.
I want to know how much Texas gets for their patch when they inevitably add one.
We're going to those uniforms are sacred, Ian. I don't like all that stuff.
You think it'll be more or less than 20 million?
A lot is the answer. Texas individually might be worth more than the Big 12. All right, deep dive Q&A. What is the latest army? This is the best question. This is all we've really cared about, to be honest. What is the latest army, a peak Roman army, e.g. Caesar's post-Gallic Wars army? Those guys were beasts. Could reasonably defeat. And then we'll address the second part. All right, Ian. What is the latest army a peak Roman army could defeat?
So I'm assuming like you also get Caesar to run it.
Sure.
One of the great Roman generals.
But part of Rome's greatness is they didn't always need a great general, right? It's a system.
Yeah, I don't. They seem to have both.
Hold on. Rome lasted a long time, what we call Rome. They didn't have that many all-timer generals, actually. It's Caesar, it's Scipio Africanus, it's a couple of other guys, a significant step below those two who are all
Pompey.
Huh?
Pompey.
Dude, that's not the same level. Like that's a competent, good general. Caesar and Scipio Africanus are like all-timers, right? So the point of Rome is that they made incredible conquests and did all sorts of stuff without Caesar and Scipio Africanus, right? Ian's not sure. He doesn't agree.
I think you need to find an era where somebody could even build an army and support it that would be as big as that army.
So that's the most important part. Do we equalize troop numbers? Because, as you guys may know, Rome could put hundreds of thousands of soldiers in the field. And they were not a marauding band or horde loosely put together for raiding. This was a coherent, highly disciplined killing machine. When they fought Hannibal in Cannae, they had 70,000 people in the field in that battle. Lost, we think, we don't know, lost 50?
Yeah.
And had an army in the field in 6 months again.
Yeah.
That's Rome.
Because I think William and the Normans.
There's nothing in the medieval world or Dark Ages that can touch that. So I guess the question is, maybe we should equalize troop numbers, because otherwise it's just Roman resources and Roman logistical genius overwhelming whoever, right?
That makes I think that almost makes the question more or less fun, though, because then you get to like something like gunpowder in the like first modern state before you really. Like William and the Normans, I think, would run over Caesar's legions if they had 100,000 Norman knights.
Well, you can't get 100,000 knights definitionally.
That's the point.
That's not possible. And that army was not entirely knights, right? There is no all-knight army in history. That's not possible. You're going to have men at arms. You're going to have some bowmen, etc. Yeah.
You give him enough. You give him enough knights, and he's going to run over Caesar. So
to give you guys a concept of the scale of war in Roman times, they're having battle. Even Alexander the Great, the beginning of his conquest, he had 40,000 guys under arms, right? 35,000, 40,000, and kept them fed and logistics upped while conquering all of the known world, like walking across Asia. Okay. William the Conqueror conquered England with 8,000 guys.
Yeah.
So these are completely different scales, right? If we do equalize numbers, there is something you need to consider. Stirrups. That is a thing that people don't think about. They always think about weapons and all that kind of stuff. Roman cavalrymen didn't have horses with stirrups. They didn't have stirrups. You just rode the horse. You also, all cavalry back then were definitionally light cavalry. So that running up against a group of Norman knights, they're going to be just run off the field, right?
Yep.
The thing that is interesting about Rome is its incredible resilience and adaptability. And as you said, the ability to keep armies in the field. So the history of Rome is not just that they dominated and defeated everyone. It's that they lost. They would have devastating losses. They'd shrug and go, you won the battle, we'll win the war. And that was the Roman mentality. And there was very little of that mentality in the medieval period. Now, you mentioned gunpowder. We don't have to get to gunpowder. So Mongols, Rome wants no part of them. Now, for an extended campaign, that would be interesting. And could the Mongols take Rome? I question that. But they would go on a campaign of just killing everyone in Italy until they surrendered, right? And so stirrups are very important. Heavy armor, the difference between steel, iron, bronze, and the different evolutions in that. One thing about bronze weapons, they actually were hard and quality, but bronze weapons didn't keep their edge very well. So iron and steel are much more effective tools on a campaign for killing people. Stirrups, big part. Heavy cavalry, also a part of heavy cavalry. In the Roman era, horses weren't very big. The big destrier horses that knights rode were bred and created later. So they would literally have run the Roman cavalry off the field. They would have no chance. Longbowmen, another big factor, the development of compound bow technology and longbows. Those arrows, like Roman armor, is not going to stand up to that. So that would be an interesting moment. So you have to equalize numbers to even make this an interesting discussion. I think we are going to go forward at least 1,000 years from Rome's peak to find an army that could give them problems. Charlemagne's army would be interesting, but I'm not sure.
Some of the Mongols, I think, would have defeated the Romans. The Mongols had massive armies, and they were all on horseback. They would have given them fits.
And the traditional weakness of Rome was horse archers.
Yep.
The early proto horse archers, like the Parthians, gave Rome fits. So FYI.
I think maybe some of the Teutonic Knight armies that had to deal with the Mongols and other forces from Russia.
Uh-huh.
Some of those I think would have been big enough and advanced enough to take out the Romans.
Yeah, and again, are we talking about we have to equalize numbers?
And if you do that, it's a wash.
Is it a battle or is it an extended war and campaign? Because the more you extend this into a battle of civilizational will,
then the Romans win.
The more it favors the Romans. Because you're going to defeat them, and we've got evidence of this with Hannibal. You can defeat them several times, and they are the freaking the Green Knight from the Holy Grail. Like, It's just a flesh wound, right? We don't care. We're missing our leg. It's just a flesh wound. We'll keep fighting. The Mongols would have sufficient civilizational and logistical will to like raise all of Italy, but they also were very subject to seasonality and grasslands and things like that. So as soon as grass dries up, Mongol armies can't they can't stay there for too long. They have to retreat out. And that's ultimately one of the reasons they weren't able to conquer all of Europe. It's interesting. There also were, I would also argue, the later Roman armies of the Eastern Roman Empire, Byzantium. If you control for numbers, again, equalize numbers, those Byzantine armies were quite small, but very good. And they had big knights, heavy horse archers, like very well trained. And they had an all-timer general named Belisarius that most people don't know about. They would have given the other earlier Romans a lot of trouble. Some of the Islamic armies really benefited from sort of numbers, zeal, and then the collapse of civilization. Because you had a bunch of plagues. You had effectively the collapse of Rome, the collapse of civilization. Populations went down. The ability to field armies went down. So those Islamic armies weren't that great per se until much later. And then you're familiar with like the Crusades and all that stuff. But
even then, Western Europe gave them a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I mean, if you have the ability to invade their homeland and hold out for 200 and 300 years with like 3,000 knights, that's not great for your ability to like apply force. And by the way, when they did figure it all out and stop their infighting, they were all wiped out pretty quickly, right? But Rome doesn't have these issues of civilizational will. It's like
short answer. Sorry, a short answer. Short answer could be that it wasn't really until gunpowder and strong modern states that you could match what the Romans were doing in terms of putting the full force of a civilization into the battlefield.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people in military history circles that argue that Napoleon was the first modern example of total war and the total mobilization of your nation to war at scale. The only other precursor that's pre-gunpowder, pre-all that is the Mongols.
Or the Byzantines, I guess.
Sorry?
Or the Byzantines, I guess.
There just weren't that many.
Yeah.
That's the problem with Constantinople and the Byzantine Empire. They almost reconquered the entire Roman Empire back, but they were so extended, and then there was a massive plague, and then it all just got rolled back instantly. So like Byzantine armies could put 20, 25,000 people in the field max. And that was like all of their guys. Rome, we're talking about, they got 50,000 people in Spain, 70,000 people in the peninsula of Italy. They got 30,000 people on the Parthian frontier. They've got 20,000 troops stationed in Gaul, in Germany. Like, it was an empire. And they had an ability to mobilize troops at a level that we just didn't see again for
a long time.
A millennia.
Yeah.
It's crazy, right? It's insane. People always think history goes forward, like everything progresses, but
it can get so much worse, everybody.
Yeah, it can get way worse.
It can get bad, and it can stay there a long time.
Yes, we could stay there for hundreds of years. So, yeah, you look at the graph of history from, you mess with the X and Y axis and you take a big macro view, you're like, wow, the line only goes up. Well, drill in on some of those lines over 300, 400, 800-year periods. The line ain't going up. So, something to keep in mind. Sugar Poppy mentions in the chat, you might be able to make total war arguments looking at Greek city-states back in the day. So Sugar Poppy, in a sense, because every man a citizen under arms, allegedly. In fact, that was one of the great weaknesses of the Greeks. They couldn't keep armies in the field. Spartans in particular, because Spartans had slaves. It was a massive slave culture. The sort of thing in 300, what is your profession? And the guy's like, I'm a potter, I'm a blacksmith. And then he says, Spartans, what are your profession? And they all go, ooh, ah, ooh, ah. The Spartans couldn't stay in the field because if they stayed out too long, their slaves would revolt and murder everyone back at home. And that's why the Spartans, like Spartan Greek slavery was incredibly brutal. Like they would just go out randomly and kill the slaves. Like young Spartan men, part of earning their spurs was you were supposed to go identify a slave and like ambush him and kill him. That was part of like your becoming a man. So yeah, the Athenians, all of these, they really struggled to keep armies in the field because they were citizen soldiers. So in a sense, they fought really hard. They cared, right? They weren't mercenaries, but also they couldn't stay out long because if you were a free Greek city-state, who's going to like take care of the crops? Who's going to feed your family? Romans fixed all of that stuff with their logistics. The Spartans were the least able to project their power of all the Greek city-states. So in a sense, they were kind of the worst in total war. But if you mean the mobilization of your population effectively to go fight a battle, the Greek city-states, that's great. They were up for it. Fighting a protracted war, no. And that's why also Greeks were incredibly treacherous to each other. So constantly betraying each other, constantly allying with Persia against other Greek city-states. But they were very coveted. So people forget that the Persians had Greeks fighting for them, right? The Persians conquered Asia Minor, which had massive Greek populations, and Greeks were their preferred heavy infantry. So just a side note.
Xenophon, I've been reading that.
Xenophon's an incredible story. And in fact, they readapted it. Have you ever seen the movie The Warriors, the cult classic from the 70s?
Yeah, but I didn't know that was the...
It's an adaptation of Xenophon, right? And that's why the name of that guy is Cyrus in the movie The Warriors. Cyrus the Great.
When I finish it, I'll rewatch Warriors.
Yeah, and one of the guys' names in The Warriors is Ajax. Not a typical gang name of 1979 New York. It's a Greek name, right? So yeah, great. It's a fun riff on the Xenophon story of these guys being abandoned in the middle of Persia once their benefactor dies, and they have to basically fight their way back all the way to the ocean and what is it? Coney Island. Coney Island.
I think it's Coney Island.
Yeah, Coney Island, not Staten Island. They'd have to take a ferry for that.
They were not rich enough to live in Staten Island.
All right, so Ian, we love this. This is our favorite thing to riff on. What troop type best exemplifies the football position?
I've made this analogy on America's War Game where I make these sorts of analogies all the time. I think the shield wall phalanx thing is like pretty kind of the essence of football, with the offensive line is recreating the idea of the like citizen or warrior class army, shoulder to shoulder with your comrades, working in cohesion. So any of those formations kind of work.
And then your Mongols and your horse archers, your horse barbarians, that's your spread O, man. And
your knights.
And well, they're the knights really are a concentration of force, right? So whenever they could get you in like the correct battle space that's got narrow limits and like there's some hills and woods and all that you can't maneuver, even the Mongols really struggled with like European knights, right? If they can get you out on an open field, those knights, the Mongols would start doing their false retreats, circle back, and just literally just decimate all those sort of troops. And the Mongols fought asymmetrically. It's they were the spread offense of their day, and everyone else was like running the wishbone.
The Knights are your power run game.
The Knights are your veer, power run game. Absolutely.
Full back lead. Yep.
100%.
I thought about this when we were doing Pop Warner, and we had these little kids, these fifth graders, like practicing offensive line footwork. And it just made me think of like, this is probably how it was in ancient times in like Anglo-Saxon or Greek or whatever society. Dudes would get together on the weekend and drill basic shield wall type formations.
So all Englishmen and Welshmen for a couple of centuries were legally obligated to practice the longbow 2 or 3 hours a week.
Yeah, there you go.
And they had sort of like a village levy. Like you or I would go door to door and be like, hey, it's time to go do longbow practice. And every man in the village would be like, great, I've got my, let's go. Obviously the Romans, so it's a great example of offensive line. The average Roman legionnaire is 5'6", 5'7", 5'8", 150 pounds. And people were smaller back then.
But smaller than that.
Maybe so. But people were smaller. That also gets exaggerated. People have actually studied this. And we have like actual physical and genetic and anthropological data now. But because people are like, oh, Napoleon was, 4'11". And it's like.
No, he was like 5'7" or something.
Yeah, he's like, you wouldn't see him and be like, oh, what a short guy, right?
Yeah.
But they were fighting people like those big Gauls and Goths and Germans. Like some of those dudes were gigantic, and in single combat, wouldn't go great. But because the Romans fought, their O-line drills were cohesive battle drills, and so literally the guy to your left is protecting half of your body with his shield, right? Same thing with the Greek phalanx. And in a lot of Roman tactics, the reason they carried a short sword was because they wanted to be able to get tight. And you don't swing a sword like an individual Gaulish warrior looking for glory who's got a two-handed sword swinging, the big 6'4" dude, right? That everyone envisions that's got a beard and 240 pounds and jacked, right? That guy is going to get cut down by the Romans all packed in tight, stabbing out with their gladius, their little short stabbing sword, because they wanted to create a smaller radius so you could get more killing force per square foot on your front line. And so a lot of war and the evolution of war is moving from single combat and challenging people. Like that was very common in war. Before the big battle, you had individual challenge matches, right? And that persisted into medieval times. Like very famously, Robert the Bruce slayed an English knight in single combat before a big battle. Like you don't think that would fire up your football team if you saw your head coach murder the opposing offensive coordinator on the 50-yard line, and he holds up his head and is like, "Let's go play." You'd be fired up, man. And so, an English knight saw Robert the Bruce scouting, kind of like riding out, and spurred his horse from his lines with a lance. And Robert the Bruce didn't have a lance. He had a battle axe. He dodged the guy's lance, went up in his stirrups, and apparently almost beheaded him with the blow. And the whole Scottish army exploded and let's fight. And the English were like, oh no. So that actually happened. So yeah, if we can get kill an opposing coach in the pregame, that would be hugely motivating to our football team.
Romans are like the rural town like Liberty Hill that just drills you with the slot T. And all your big guys can't stop it.
Yeah, and what's funny is because it had the gladiator culture and the individualistic culture of combat as well. If you read some of the ancient chronicles, a lot of the Roman generals were very contemptuous of gladiators. because they're like, actually, that's not real combat. That's individual fighting. Real war and what we train our guys for is not that. We don't want to promote that in Roman society. That's not good. We need to promote people doing their drills and doing their techniques.
It's like old school. It's like old school line coaches watching the spread, being like, "This is not what we want."
This is not. Yeah, this is a lot of bad habits. Like when we have to fight the Parthians, when we have to conquer the Celts, we can't be worried about individual accolades and individual combats and that kind of. We need to be like cohesive and doing our battle plan. So yeah, Sugar Poppy says we've got to have a duel between Sark and Kirby Smart before game. Get everybody fired up.
Yep.
All right. Can you think of any other examples, Mr. America's War Game, the Substack you should all be subscribed and members of?
I probably could, but I need to make sure my daughter's not burning the house down making eggs.
Okay. Well, you shouldn't let 3-year-olds play with matches, Ian.
Not that one, the other one.
Oh, okay. Well, great. Ian's got a pyro daughter, everybody. All right. But this deep dive has been fire. Speaking of pyro. Go join Inside Texas. That's another fire move that you can make. Flash sale, join for $1, 50% off your first year. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. I think we spent more time on the military stuff than any of the football questions, but that's why you guys like the deep dive. Ian, any final thoughts before we say goodbye to the people?
That's it from me. We'll
All
come
right.
back to this.
I do have to say as an aside, I know we're trying to get out of here. There are goofball military historians who don't live in the physical reality world, who would argue that like you could find these online on Reddit. You could find these arguments of like a Roman army could have beaten, like gunpowder armies. And it's like, dude, you don't live in the physical world. You're a nonsense person. But those goofballs are out there. All right. That's been the deep dive. We'll see y'all at Inside Texas.